Do 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 do. Bum bum bum. And I think we are live.
Oh,
Woohoo!
Yeah, we're live here at OreAni. We've been doing this for too long.
never.
I'm just kidding. I think we've been here for 12 years now. Maybe
Oh my goodness.
coming up to 13, but it's been fun being able to hang out with you all these few times a year
Mm-hmm.
and to talk about our favorite anime of the season, at least. With us always, we have Jessica,
Hello.
and I hope everyone can hear her this time. And joining us once again is the lovable dragon.
Hello.
And today we're going to be, of course, discussing the end of 2024 summer season. Now, a lot of the shows aren't 100% complete, while some shows have been complete for 2 weeks or so. And I think, I'm not sure, but there might have been some scheduling things, because wasn't the Olympics still going on during this time as well, right?
Yes.
So I think it pushed some starting times, or who knows? I'm not 100% sure, and I'm kind of too lazy to go check it out, but that's my excuse.
Oh, there's Albert.
Oh, dude, I see him in there now. And we have Albert joining us. Yeah.
I am under the weather, so I might have to duck out here and then to stop my coughing, but I am here.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Albert. Let me just put your name here. B. And we're just going to go down the list as usual, and we may skip a few, actually, because our first title, which is the 2.5 dimensional girlfriend, I believe, right? Or dimensional seduction, I should say, on High Dive, is not complete. It's still going on 2 cores, like anime used to back in the day, without skipping a season. So that's going to continue on for another 12 episodes, I believe. So
Is it for another 12?
yeah, it's scheduled for 24 episodes, so
Okay.
we'll go back to that at the end of next season. So next up, did you guys want to talk about Atari? Or Atari? Or Atari? How do you say that?
I only watched A3, just the little bit that we did. I think we watched the first episode, and then every now and then I would catch clips from when you were watching it. So I don't really have anything to say about it other than that.
I just watched the first episode and dropped it.
Oh, okay. So I guess we can skip that show as well. Because I honestly didn't watch a lot of it. It was very low on my priority list. But this show, actually, I really, really wanted to watch, but I didn't. So I'm kind of sad. And that was Bye Bye Earth.
Oh. This one was kind of disappointing. I dropped it after 4 episodes. And it's just... I don't think it's a good adaptation. I have not read the light novels that these were based on, but the world is a really complex one, and the anime does an incredibly poor job of explaining these concepts in any meaningful way. There will be text flashing on screen as to who someone is and maybe what faction they're from, and the characters will explain the ones that sound obvious, and then they won't explain the ones that need to be explained. And so it's really hard to get attached to the plot, the characters, or anything, because we don't really understand the ramifications of what's happening. So as much as I wanted to like this, I just felt lost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it was the anime trying to hold back a mystery to make it enticing later on. I just think it was not a good way to handle exposition of your world at all. That's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, the premise at the beginning really caught me, and
Yeah.
and I was really hoping to watch more of it, but with all the other shows I watched, I wasn't able to. But
Mhm.
I kind of did want to learn more about, I guess, the weapons they use, because they're not. I wouldn't really. They're in the form of a sword, but they seem to be plant based, right?
Yes, but that's about all we really know. At least at the part that I left off, they had not really explained anything about the weapons, how they work, what their powers are, why some are really strong, why some aren't, why breaking them can sometimes be for forever and then other times it's just temporary. No idea. That could be explained later on.
Yeah. And it also seemed like anyone with these weapons formed a deep personal connection with those weapons for some, and
Yeah,
it like
yeah, it did seem like that.
so all that stuff is what really got me interested. But I'm gonna have to get back with you all on this because I kind of do want to finish this and check out more at least because I only got 3 episodes in, so I'm actually one below you.
Okay.
So I'll definitely check back on this. If anyone else out there has seen Bye Bye Earth and could give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, let us know in the comments, and we'll be sure to check it out. But the other show we got on here, which started very, very late, right? Delico's Nursery.
Yes, I believe it started in the latter half of August.
So, like, how far has it gone? Like,
Oh, let me check Crunchyroll real quick. Because I ended up dropping it. It is up to 6 episodes.
all right. And what is this show about?
Well, this was the biggest bait and switch in the history of anime. So, oh, where to even start with this? The all right, so this is based on apparently a stage play. And the stage
Oh,
play, no shit, is called Trump. So
The
we're
card
off
game?
to a great stuff. Trump. It's called Trump. And it's a portmanteau of the phrase true of vamp. They took the first 3 letters of true and the last 3 letters of vamp and smushed them together, and we have Trump. And this is just death for search engine optimization, you know? So the anime wisely chose to rename it Delico's Nursery. And it's basically about a bunch of vampires who have been worried about the god of vampires, the Trump, waking up. And they're not sure, okay, is this going to be good for us? Is this going to be bad for us? And then at the same time, there's a shadowy cabal that's committing horrendous murders. And so there's a group of 4 vampire guys who are in the military/government and are tasked with finding out more about this shadowy organization and what they are going to do with this vampire god. Which sounds pretty freaking cool. Except that we hard pivot to child rearing. So this is for people that want to watch vampire dads raise a bunch of screaming toddlers. And there is a lot of screaming toddler in this. Way more than I could handle. And so you might have 1 or 2 minutes of actual interesting plot, and then the rest of the episode is them trying to herd these kids and learn about being good dads.
Strange.
Yeah, it's very strange. And I feel a little disappointed because the character designs are absolutely gorgeous.
Mm.
They're your shoujo shonen type of art style, if I had to classify it, and they're really detailed in terms of the hair, the individual locks are drawn. Their clothing has a lot of embellishments on them with little cords and medals and buttons and things. It looks really pretty, the character designs, but that's about all the good that I can really say about this.
I don't know why, but when you described the hair and the clothing and stuff, the only thing I could think of was, oh my goddess.
Maybe it's been so long since I've seen Oh My Goddess, I couldn't really say if there's a connection, but it is pretty, which is what made me want to watch it in the first place, is it looked pretty. I know I'm a sucker for a pretty face. But yeah, Dragon, what did you think about this whole thing?
So I found this anime due to like clips on like social media or like TikTok, and they already kind of showed like just like them trying to deal with kids. So I guess it depends on how you come into the anime, because I already came fully expecting the anime being like the shenanigans of trying to raise children.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why for me I felt more like I would enjoy it, just because I already knew that it was gonna be more about like trying to deal with like a bunch of like grown men trying to deal with raising kids, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, I was okay with it just because I came in with that expectation. If you didn't come in with that expectation and you came in with like the first scene of the first episode and thinking like, oh my goodness, like this is gonna be like a lot more about like I guess more political issues or like crime investigation and stuff like that. I guess if you were basing that off from that like first scene, then like I guess your expectations kind of like, that's what I was hoping to see more of versus a lot more of the kids stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I came in knowing about all the kids stuff, so I was like on board with seeing them like trying to like not go insane with raising the kids.
And there is something to be said for that plot. I am not objecting to the fact that you have dads raising kids. I think that could be really good. It's just that the kids spend so much time crying. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. And I would want it about 50-50, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Or maybe 75 vampire god stuff and 25 kid stuff. Something like that.
So got too realistic on the kids' part.
Yes, I mean I don't have kids, so I don't know the first thing about raising them, but it looks like hell to me.
All right.
But I haven't really caught up into it, so I'm just like, I mean, like I had other anime that I was prioritizing, so I haven't really caught up with it. But I might pick it up again, but we'll see.
Well, if you do, let me know if they ever get to the kick-ass vampire battles that were promised in the opening.
I'm sure it might. It's just gonna be kind of way later, but I'll let you know.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you all for talking about that show. It's still going to continue on to this next season, of course, so we'll probably discuss the rest of it if someone does finish watching it for the end of the season. I'd like to say hey to Vinny and Albert for joining us. I can't remember if I said hey to Albert again, but our next show to talk about is actually one that I found very fun and wish to finish. It is one of the few shows that is on High Dive and Dungeon no Naka no Hito, or Dungeon People. Since Albert's the only one who's actually, it looks like, finished it, what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, so I've been reading the manga and kind of been enjoying it. It's set in a fantasy world, and the main protagonist is one of those highly competent but very socially awkward person. So her name is Clay. She's in a dungeon that is in the city, village city that she um, it's near, and then it's a typical JRPG fantasy setting where uh, I forget what they're called, but I guess they're adventurers that go into the dungeon, and then when you fight, monsters, they either turn into uh, gems or that you could get, or you find loot boxes, right, treasure boxes. The very typical setting, and she's on the 8th level of what's known to be a 10th level dungeon. No one's made it to the 10th, and she's actually been looking for her dad, who disappeared like 3 years ago. So she's been, honing her skills, going deeper and deeper. And the 8th level, I think it's the 8th level, he's fighting a minotaur, and part of the wall breaks, and there is a corridor beyond the wall. And the minotaur is like, whoops. And then she realizes, wait, we just spoke. And so, because of that, she meets the dungeon master, who turns out to look like a little girl, but is extremely powerful. She easily defeats Clay, and Clay, as part of that duel that they set up, she agrees to work for the dungeon master, whose name is Belle. So, kind of a weird setup. And then she starts learning that the dungeon is essentially artificially constructed. Belle is the one that is um, has a whole organization about hiring monsters and putting treasure into these treasure boxes. And there's this whole system behind what people just assumed was this naturally occurring magical place, right? So it's kind of a fun take on the JRPG dungeons, and I was, reading it. The reason I really actually enjoyed the anime is that the animation was done by Studio OLM. They're mainly known for their Pokemon uh, shows, but they, let me take a look. They recently did things like, oh, they did the other one of the other fantasy shows, I Parry Everything this season. They also did uh, The Faraway Paladin. They collaborated with Toho on Apothecary Diaries. So they've got a large number of people and different groups that work on different projects, right? So very competent. And I was quite surprised at how well everything was animated. They did not need to go that hard. When you see something like teleportation, you just need to make a little flash and they disappear. But no, there's like this uh, curtain, rainbow colored curtain that slowly appears, and then there's this effect, and then they kind of fade in and out and disappear, right? So they went above and beyond what they really needed to for such a um, simple line drawing in the manga. And the story is kind of um, it's pretty simple, but the way Clay is, she doesn't quite understand things, so she'll ask these questions, and she is often playing the straight man to the antics of the other denizens of the dungeon. Then there's this recurring theme about Belle being completely messy, and Clay can't stand that as a proper adventurer. She thinks everything needs to be in its right place. All her weapons are owned and in the proper sheath and in the proper positions on her body. And she sees Belle's mess, and she can't help but start cleaning. But 3 days later, it's a complete mess again. So there are things like that happens. So kind of a comedic take, but it's also surprisingly bloody at times. So when like she kills a goblin, their head separates and there's blood all over the place. So again, the studio did not need to go that hard on the animation, but they did. despite it being kind of a simple style. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and still reading the manga, and did not end where I thought it would. I don't know if it's doing well in Japan or not. Over here, it was on High Dive, I think. I don't think a lot of people saw it, which is unfortunate, but it is very enjoyable. So that's my take.
Yes, very very fun show. Especially with the design, I thought it was going to be more laid back, be this fun dungeon crawling, but Albert mentioned, there are some moments and scenes where they do have some battles that are just amazing and just fun to watch. And the thing I really thought was fun was how they explained a lot of these small little details about how the dungeon works, such as why there's rewards, or why would people even want to be employed as a monster in this dungeon when your life is at stake? And they kind of go through this way of explaining it that it's not really as dangerous as you would think and such. So I definitely wanted to finish this, but like I said, there was a few other shows ahead of this, so I didn't get to, but I believe I got at least 6 episodes in, and every single new episode was just, I believe Clay, Albert mentioned, as her learning a different part of the dungeon, and also growing as a character through her many encounters with other people. So overall, really great show, and it is a show I think that you can really recommend to a younger audience to watch. And I'm surprised it's not as popular out there, but I highly recommend it. Did you want to add anything, Vinny, or?
Not really. I mean, it's lacking in the showy shonen battle moments, so it's kind of hard sell compared to other isekai overpowering stuff. But having said that, it is a very low key entertaining series. So somebody who's not really in mood for too much up and down, this is really a good series to watch, especially if you're into, I don't know, I guess it might appeal to people who like to play Minecraft, one who likes to actually build everything from the bottom up, because it does talk a lot about the inner workings of dungeons and what have you. So.
All right. So our next show for discussion is going to be... Oh, I think we could just skip this one, right? The Elf... What's it called again? Plus Size Elf, which was another High Dive short, I believe.
It hits too close to home for me, so yeah, I'll skip it.
Surprisingly, it's like one of the etchiest shows this season that we couldn't get into. So let's just go ahead and go to the next show, which is going to be Giddy Harem, right? Yeah, there it is. Found the title. Giddy Harem, or Pseudo Harem. And unfortunately, I didn't get to finish it. I only got halfway through, and it seems like no one else finished it. It seems like a really fun thing, but I don't know. I found myself like, one episode's good enough for right now, and I couldn't push myself to keep on marathoning it. But I'm not saying it was bad. It was decent for what it was. What about you?
Yeah, it was really funny every time we were watching. Like, I mean, I think did a full watch of like the first episode, and then every time I watched through her, it'd be like you were already watching it, and I would come in at like the moments when you were already watching and just finish the little bit that you were watching. But for what it was like really funny and entertaining. I may or may not like try to catch up and pick it up, but it was funny to me. Yeah.
So for people who don't know, Pseudo Harem is about it mainly follows two characters, Rin and Eiji, who are both in the drama club, and Rin, I guess, becomes really good friends with Eiji, and they love to hang out. And during these encounters that we see in the show, she tends to play different characters because she loves acting, and she also just loves having fun with Eiji, and she'll act out different personas, I guess. Like the cool beauty, they call her Cool-chan. They also have the Tsundere-chan. So the voice actor has a wide range, going from different characters to different personas, while she also uses this to hide her feelings as they grow with Eiji. And I was actually surprised with how fast the story went, because I think midway, Eiji actually graduates high school. So now Rin's by herself in high school, which is the next part I'm at, which I haven't seen past, but I'm kind of interested to see how this show goes a little bit more now, with it being outside of the school. So, but it's I would say the name is very misleading with the word harem. But then again, if you just read the title, pseudo harem, you can kind of get where it's going. But overall, it was decent, I guess. Anything else to add, anyone? No.
So I understand it's kind of, I did not read the manga, but I think it's a 4-panel. So a lot of it is short skits, and then the manga, I believe, finished concurrent with the anime. So supposedly there is a ending, which is one of the problems. I was watching earlier. I dropped it around episode 3. I wasn't sure if this was going anywhere. Right. So don't want just a continuation of nothing ever happening, right? The relationship never changes. So I'd be curious to see what happens at the very end. But the voice actor for Rin is Saori Hayami, and she is super talented, super famous. Some of her other roles, she's Your Forger and Spy Family, right? And what else has she done recently? I think she was Angeline, the main character, and My Daughter Went to the Capital and Became a S-Rank Adventurer. So she has this huge catalog of characters she's portrayed. And so, excuse me. And so this will be, if you're a fan of her voice acting, you get to hear her portraying many, many different types of characters, because she's portraying, in the show, different characters, different tropes, different characters. So again, if you're a fan of hers, this is a must watch. That's it.
Nice. So let's go to the next title, which I'm surprised I kind of kept on watching it. And it looks like Dragon watched it as well. And the biggest thing I have to say about this show is it looks terrible.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I only just finished it just because I was in so deep, and I was just like, let me just finish it up. I mean, the biggest thing that I will compare this to is that it's basically the same as like Arifureta. That's what I think is like it's very similar in my opinion to like Arifureta, other than like there are different like characters and things, but like the motive is like a little bit different in that he's being like fricked over by a goddess that brought like his whole class into the other world. But yeah, is there anything you want to add to this, Tank? I just feel like if you want a more like Walmart version of Body Fureta, then you can probably watch this.
Yeah, so it says it's based off of a light novel. I've only read the manga, and the manga pretty much is at where the anime ends. And there are quite a bit slight differences in the show, but the biggest thing was they used quite a bit of CG for a lot of things that just didn't look right or misplaced. There's a scene where this character fires fire magic at a wall, and it just does not look right. And there's even scenes where there'll be characters standing inside a forest, but because of how they color the characters and shade them, they look so mismatched with the background that it looks like someone went to Photoshop, cut these characters out, and pasted on a stock background where they didn't even try to match it. So there's these moments where things just didn't look right, and especially a lot of these monsters and beasts out there, they're all done with CG, and so they'll be going back and forth between the CG guy and the 2D guy as they close up and then go back to the CG. It's all over the place, and it's not a smooth transition like I would say another show of ours that has the season that did a better job with the transitioning. But other than that, it is your typical revenge type of show where the guy is put into a situation where he is looked down upon by everyone else, and he feels that he's being unjustly vilified. So through chances, he becomes OP character and is able to get through all these situations without taking too much damage. And now he's slowly building his team up, all for the sake of revenge. So they do try to get us to be on his side a little more with flashbacks of domestic abuse done to him, showing that he's jaded because of this, and that why he has such a bleak outlook on why people don't deserve forgiveness. And it's just so weird how they're doing it. But overall, I would say that's one of the biggest difference between what Dragon said for Afureta and this, because I think in Afureta it was only classmates bullying, while this one has more as a child, being beaten by his father or whatever. So it does have some very dark moments in there, but other than that, not a show I would recommend. So now the next show, which is another isekai, I highly recommend. I think, didn't I tell you to watch this, Dragon?
Yeah, and then we were watching it together. It was it's so good. It's so funny.
Which is No Longer Allowed in Another World. So I believe there's still one more episode left for this series.
Is there?
Yes, I think there's one more episode that comes out or Tuesday, I think it is.
Oh,
to complete
I
this
thought it was
show.
over.
Is it?
12
I thought
episodes,
it
the
was.
last episode is done.
Yeah.
Oh, I must be thinking of a different show. Oh yeah, it says finished here on the site. My bad. So it is done. But yeah, I mean, who wants to talk about it? Dragon?
I think you would give better just because you have a lot more like you probably have more information about it than I do.
So-
I don't really remember some of the names, so it's gonna be hard for me to say things.
All right. So, no longer allowed in another world. Of course, we have our main character that goes by the name Sensei, and as I believe Jessica mentioned at the start of the season, he's actually a famous writer in our time, right?
Yes. Well, in the late 1800s,
Well, I mean, in our
he wrote No Longer Human. That's probably his most famous work.
right. So I honestly don't know much about him. I've heard the name before in a few other shows. As
Yeah, he struggled with depression and tried to kill himself multiple times, and then was ultimately successful, which is really sad. But back then, you just kind of had to. There was no treatment for it. So you just had to suffer. So I don't know how I feel about them taking him, knowing that as a background and being like, oh yeah, he tried to kill himself, but instead he went to another world, seems maybe a little irresponsible. But convince me that I'm wrong, guys. Try and sell this to me.
all right, so Sensei, as the show calls him, like we said, is transferred to another world. He ends up meeting Annette, which is, I guess, the priestess who guides the summoned heroes. And, of course, Sensei, who failed to commit suicide, was hit by the isekai truck. And they mentioned that the isekai truck targets those who are so miserable and misfortune that it'll take them away to this world, right? To, grant them their wildest fantasies. And Sensei has a problem with this because at that moment it was going to be his happiest time, right? So now he has to try to, end his life again. But he realizes that his partner with him in his suicide is no longer around. So that's his new driving force, is to find, what was her name again?
Sachi, right?
Sachi, yeah. To complete his double suicide. So as he meets companions along the way, and you realize that the world has been saved, the demon lord has been defeated, but now because of the influence of other worlders and their ultimate power, they've decided that they're going to become the new rulers of this world. So now they become the new conflict in this world. So it just so happens that Sensei has an ability to dispatch these otherworlders back to where they came from, which is his skill, which they call no longer allowed in another world. And it's fun how he goes about it, because it seems that he has to be motivated to write a story about them. And as he learns about why these characters are the way they are in this world, the misfortunes they went through, he somewhat helps them, but not all of them. And it's just really fun to see how he goes through life trying to I don't know how to explain it. It's like he's very bleak and very dark about everything, but he also gives such good advice to all these people who are also in this dark place. And yeah, I mean, it's just a show I kind of just say you really, really need to watch. And it seems that there's definitely going to be lined up for another season, because we've ended with him meeting Sachan. But all the characters are slowly gaining strength, becoming stronger, and Sensei is now faced with a new conflict in his life at the end. So, and I will have to say that the voice actor for Sensei is very famous for playing these dark roles, as he was also, I believe, Zetsubo Sensei. So, um, I guess he's very used to seeing a bleak outlook, or talking with that very bleak outlook in life. So, I also recognize his voice for a lot of the being an Araragi in Bakemono Gatari. So, anything else to add for anyone else?
I think it's just a great watch. There's definitely lots of great funny moments just because of the reactions from all the people witnessing how much he wants to like die and kill himself. And like they're all like, is this guy crazy? Like what are we supposed to do with this guy? Like, and also I would like to add that if you listen closely to some of the side characters, they have some of like amazing voice cameos from like well-known VAs. I remember there was one episode, Tank, right, where there's like a small group of like I don't know, like bandits or I guess thugs, and we were listening closely and we are like, wait, isn't that Kazuma from Konosuba? And then we kept trying to like go back and listen. So if you listen closely to some of the just like the non like named like side characters, you might even hear like really well known VAs. So very fun tip when you're watching it.
Yeah, so like I said, the VA is very good at having this very dark persona, so he really sells that character really well. And all the other supporting characters are just fun to have around, and just listening to them bicker and everything, and just Sensei being like, it's just another gloomy day. It has been very fun. But let's go ahead and move on to the next show, which do you guys want to talk about this one? The one with the twins, I guess? I know Albert's...
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Save your voice for a better show, right? Let's go to this one down here then. Let's go to the Karasu. I don't have a name person.
Like you. I'm the only one who watched it, huh?
Well, this was the second core, right?
Yes. So this was kind of interesting. I believe that it got offset, or its broadcast was preempted by 3 weeks because of the Olympics. And it was timed in such a way that the first arc of the story was finished, and then there was a 3-week break, and then the new arc started up. And the new arc is completely different from the first one. So where the first one was a bunch of court politics and women jockeying for the position of empress and all of that stuff, the second core is more focused on Yukiya, as he and the Kinu, the Golden Raven Prince, team up to stop a threat, a dire threat against the world, in the form of apes. So you know how all of the human-looking characters in this particular show are actually ravens? Well, it turns out that there are some apes that are the same thing, where they are apes that look like humans. The main difference being that they can't actually speak when they're in human form. And they like to hunt and kill ravens and eat them. So it's kind of like a detective / action adventure type of genre, as Yukiya and the prince are trying to discover how these apes even got into the country as well. And there are some very large lore bombs that get dropped which I won't spoil in case you are interested. I hesitate to recommend it to people who dropped it because of the first arc, just because you will need to watch 13 episodes of something you didn't particularly enjoy to get to something you might enjoy a little more. So, yeah, Tank, if you didn't like the first part, I don't think I'd say sit through it all just to watch the next part. But I really liked it. I thought it was a really good show. Went places I didn't expect. I want more of it, and I would love for the novels to be translated one day so I could read those too.
Is there any way to just skip to that next part, or do you
I
have to
mean-
watch? Because I know the part that bored me was honestly the whole court lady thing, and how their conflict, like, oh, you should drop, oh, you shouldn't drop, oh, your dress is so cute, but oh, we really think it's bad. So
I think if you looked at a wiki or perhaps asked me in DMs who won that whole court thing, so you know where those particular characters are, then you could probably enjoy the second half for what it is without needing a lot of that background.
So the only thing I was wondering, because there did seem to be some other story going on with this other group. Remember, the boy was even spying on them in one of the houses where they were plotting something, because there was this other
Yeah.
faction. That's the only thing I think I would need to know about, because I had no idea what was really going on with all of that.
Yeah, they do show up in the second arc in order to assist our Sherlock and Watson group. So yeah, you would, there are a few threads that are carried over from the first season that you would have to follow through. But other than that, if you really want to see the second half, yeah, I could help you out with the info, or you could look it up on a wiki to figure everything out. But I still stand by what I said, though. If you didn't care for the first half, then I don't know why you'd really want to watch the second, unless you really like Yukiya as a character and think that the setting of the ravens and everything is pretty cool. Then yeah, I could see maybe that.
Yeah, honestly, Yuki was my biggest driving force, because it seemed like he's very a bright child, but he's also
yeah.
seems to be this very how do I say, unmotivated as well.
Very much so, yeah.
But so like, I know he can do things, but he's just not. He doesn't have the motivation, and even when he's forced to do things, he'll do it. But it kind of makes me think of what was it called? Hyoka. Remember the main character in that show?
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
It kind of made me think about him and how he sees life and does things. So that's why I was kind of really interested in him in this show. But Oreki, I think that was his name. But yeah, I'll have to talk to you after this then later on and see how things go.
Okay.
But next up is one of the best magical girl shows there is this season.
Hell yeah.
The magical girl and the evil lieutenant used to be arch enemies.
Let me just say, Tank, thank you so much for recommending this to me. I'm really happy that you did. No, I'm very happy you did, because I would have completely slept on this. And it ended up being one of my favorites of the season.
It's also one of these shows that's a short that I wish was longer, but I feel that it wouldn't be as good being longer as well.
I thought that the short format actually fit it perfectly, because it didn't seem like the rapid fire 4 jokes that we usually get with shorts, but every episode felt like it was the exact length that it needed to be.
Yes. So it actually seems to be one of the most watched shows within our group, with I think Vinny maybe falling a little bit behind. I don't know if you dropped it, Vinny, or just
I fell behind.
yeah, I thought so. But we are introduced to a few new characters after the midway point, especially with the Archdemons team, and one new magical girl and her, I guess, sidekick. But
She's the best girl, by the way.
I don't know about that. I mean, her personality is pretty fun, but Byakuya, I mean, she definitely makes you kick in those I gotta protect her instincts. So I could see how the what is his name, Mira?
Mhm.
Is so infatuated with her and such. So
Right.
and of course it's I thought it was really interesting and funny at the last episode, because I don't think they ever mentioned what kind of magical girl she was or what her powers were until that very last episode.
No, they were an afterthought.
And it was another just shock, like, oh, that's so sad for her. But it may be sad, but it's just so nice to know that this kind of misfortune could bring something that I believe she really, really needed.
I would also like to highlight Shinichiro Miki as the VA of the cat familiar. He knocks it out of the park. His vocal range is astounding. He goes from gutter snipe, yakuza, kind of bassy to screechy tenor in about 2 seconds. It's nuts. I
Yes.
really, really liked him. Or, I mean, liked his performance. The character is absolutely just abominable. And is meant to be.
Yeah, so we're kind of keeping away from too many spoilers, because this is a show you can easily wipe out within an hour or 3 hours and a half, I would say, right? Maybe even just 3 hours. So it's all out on Crunchyroll. Just go ahead and watch those 12 episodes, and you'll get through it in no time. And if it's just, it's a show that will make you want more and more. And I definitely hope that in a year's time we get another second season. But if we don't, I mean, I'm not going to complain. We got some high grade stuff coming out of what we just got this season. So maybe we can do a spin-off where it just targets the other girl. What was her name? Hibana, yeah. But I feel that story was also fairly well told in one of the episodes.
What I want are figures. I think these character designs would lend themselves really well to figures.
Mm-hmm. But other than that, is there anything anyone else wants to mention? Didn't you mention something about the music? You said you liked
Oh, I like the opening song a lot. It's cute, it's catchy, and I found myself humming it a lot.
Oh, 'cause to me, the only song that struck me was the ending, where they kind of sing it like in a duet. Da, 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 da,
Yeah, because it's
da-da.
sung by both the Byakuya and Mira's VA.
So, I'll definitely have to check out the opening. All I remember is the ending, but the ending is another really fun song for that duet of the two. So let's go ahead and move on to the next title. Oh, this one. I definitely wanted to finish this, but I fell behind on this one as well. It's called... Oh, it starts with a K. Give me a second. I think this is the tag for it. Kono Sekai wa Fukanzen Suguru, or Quality Assurance in Another World. Which is another, I guess we still call these isekai, right? Even if it's a game world.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the yeah.
Yeah, so we're stuck in another isekai. Once again, in a game world, everyone probably thinks of Sword Art Online most of the time, but being as old as I am, the first thing that comes to my mind is dot hack sign, right? That first popularized that. But
Yeah, definitely. Or Lane is kind of the proto of that, but I would say dot hack is what really put that kind of genre on the map.
yeah. So we have a Haga who enters the game as work with a group of friends to do quality assurance, right? Debugging in this game. And due to, I'm not 100% sure what the reason is. I don't think they've discussed that, but they're all stuck in this game. And now Haga has decided to just continue finishing his job because there's two sides of the I guess the group of debuggers. There's one who believes that if we finish our job and do everything and debug this, we'll be let go. While there's the other group who I believe are, we got to defeat the game, and by defeating it, we'll be able to exit. So while the one group is doing that, Haga has decided to just continue his duties and finish his debugging. Now, there is a third group, which is the biggest conflict, which are the others who want to stay in this world because with these debugging tools, they believe they are kind of like gods, right? They can do anything they want to anyone they want because these characters aren't real. They're NPCs. There's nothing we can do that would cause problems. And although they are strong with these debugging tools, and even Haga could be that way, Haga stays away from doing that because he's seen the dangers of what could happen if you don't use the tools correctly. And we're shown that in one of the episodes with a few of his friends that have now gotten into situations where he doesn't know if they're alive or dead or what's even going on with them. So he does end up picking up a sidekick, Nicola, who in a sense is a bug, but is also plays a medium to, I guess, the system, which asks Haga for help. And that's as far as I've gone, because like I said, I haven't finished it. So it is a show I definitely do want to finish watching and seeing how far it goes. I definitely don't think it'll be finished in this single season. So I believe I have some time into the next season, but we'll see how it goes. How far did everyone else get? Because I think I only got midway.
I'm up to about 4.
4. 1. So it is very fun, and also just seeing how Nicola views Haga's antics as being very, very strange, and because of course she doesn't know what he's trying to do, like him trying to push into a wall to glitch and see if there's any glitches where you can pass through and such. But overall very fun, and I wish to continue watching it. That's good information, Sakuhei. If you guys haven't noticed, Sakuhei's been in our chats, so I'd like to say thanks for joining in our conversation. It seems that they're also enjoying this show. Next up is another show which I picked that I watched, but honestly, I was doing a lot of art every single time this was on, so I didn't get everything about this show. So I'm not 100% sure about everything that happened. But Dahlia and Bloom, I believe, was the short name for it, right?
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, it definitely started off with this big isekai vibe where the main character, this little girl, Dahlia, it seems like she has some memories from her previous life, but it's touched upon very rarely within this series. It maybe is shown to be a little bit of an influence on some of the items she does make, but they don't play that isekai card a lot like some other shows do. And it seems to just be her run, split into, I think I would say 3 parts, which is her growing up and then about to get married and then the marriage being dissolved. And then the next part is where she meets, I guess, Wilfred. And then the last arc, I guess, is her creating her own business and becoming a successful independent person or woman. So it almost seemed like there was going to be a lot of this romantic things going on between Dahlia and Wilfred, but it almost is pushed to the side a lot of the times, I would say. It wasn't really rushed. Even now, their relationship is that of like almost just really, really good friends rather than romantic interest. You can see that they do kind of see each other in that way a little bit, but they value their friendship a little bit more, it almost seems. But it's just so weird, the things that they're going through and talking about, because it does kind of start with this hairdryer, which is like, tech in our world. Wow, I wonder what other thing she's going to bring. And it ends up with this thing where she's making 5-toed socks. Come on. So it helps with fungus and such, but
Well, she did also develop the refrigerator combo prototype, but still.
yeah, I mean, she also made weatherproofing cloth, right? I believe.
Yeah.
And some other smaller items. But
Yeah, it's a hot stove, portable.
yeah. But like I said, those seem to be very pushed to the side rather than, because I didn't think they talked about that stuff a lot. It did seem to focus a lot on her making a weapon for Wilfred, right?
Yeah, that's the focus towards the end of the series. Yeah, kind of, sort of. It's almost as if it was used to be used as a plot device to drive the story somewhere, except throughout the whole series, it feels like it's kind of going somewhere but nowhere at the same time. It's very not focused in any particular matter, let it be the pursuit of a romance or inventions, wealth or power. It's kind of lukewarm in every aspect of it, and including animation.
Yeah.
And it feels as if they purposely try to sidestep the romance aspect of it, thinking that viewers might be sick and tired of all this type of series just developing into old romance getaway all the time. But they might have felt that, oh, let's do something different and maybe this will be a little bit more refreshing to the viewer. But all it ended up doing is just muddle the things.
Yeah. Now, I will admit this show did have some moments which were a little funny, especially when she's learning about terms that she can't use in high society. Because they might be seen as inviting, I guess. But
euphemism for I'll take you to bed.
so they did have some cleverly worked in jokes in there, and I thought was kind of fun. But overall, I don't know. I was kind of expecting a lot more from this show, but I can't say I hate it. it's very low key, slice of life show. I guess I kind of want to say it is a slice of life, but I don't think it's marked as that. Okay, let's go to the next show. Oh my goodness. I think this is a show that everyone watched. And it came out pretty hard. Maken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makene. Too many losing heroines. And it finished, I believe, just last week, right?
I think the first
No,
episode
I think it's today.
here today.
Oh, it finished today.
Yeah.
I've not watched the latest, obviously, since I'm working.
Okay.
So, highly recommend this if you're into, I guess. I don't know. This is classified as a rom-com, right?
Yeah.
It is a rom-com.
Yeah, I would call it that.
Right. So, if you love rom-coms, highly recommend this. It's just pretty fun. Rather than following a love story, I guess you could say, we follow the aftermath of a failed love story. And
Multiple failed love stories.
yes, and then we have our main character, how do you say his name?
Nukumizukum, which I wanted to ask Albert if the names are puns or wordplay, because they all seem really weird to me.
I'm not sure if there's an actual name of a person that's Nukumizu, but Nukumizu just means lukewarm water. Okay, so kind of fits him, right?
Yeah, it does.
And then I would have to, I don't remember everyone else's, but like Yanami is the actual name.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yakshiro is also an actual name. You know, the characters that they use for their first names, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, in his case specifically, it seems like they pick something obscure if it's a real name, but kind of identifies him as a non-main character.
Yeah, that is a perfect name for him.
Yeah. So
One thing that stood out to me about this was the background art and the location of the school. Because a lot of anime schools, let's face it, could you really identify one of those schools if someone just showed you a picture without the characters? They all look identical. But this school, it had a distinct visual identity, where it was kind of tucked away in the woods, and there was a lot of plants and greenery, and it had this sort of worn down, shabby look to it that I really liked. And the light was sort of greenish tinted because they're in the woods. And I don't know, I just thought it looked so cool and was something different than the boilerplate 2-story school that we typically see.
excuse me. So Maken, of course, I guess you can kind of split it into I almost want to say it's split into 3 arcs with 3 different girls, right?
Yeah.
Which follows Yanami, which is the first girl. Then you have Lemon, and then you have Chika, or Komari, which is and even the ending songs reflects that they change each ending during those arcs, which I thought was really fun, especially Lemon's ending. Visually was really cool.
Oh, yeah. This was amazing.
And it also put in this very dark element into the show, which I guess with any of these rom-coms, you got to have that scary little sister. Because like she seemed like the most lovable thing ever, but then when you get into her head, it seems like she's one of those you got to stay away from as well. But like I said, each arc focuses basically on one of the girls and their, I guess, failed love story, and how Nukumizu is helps them through it. And as our main protagonist, he also kind of doesn't know what to do because he's not really the romantic type, right? He's not the romantic love interest. He's not anything. He just so happens to be in those areas when that situation happens, and it seems that he's not really interested in romance either, right? So it seems to want to play this joke on you a lot, where it's like, oh, he might get with her, right? But with his attitude and how he is, it's I think pretty obvious that it won't happen, right? But
well, there was one scene where Yanami was trying to get, she was talking about, oh my gosh, I need to pretend that I have a boyfriend, and the way it was all worded is you think that it's going to be a fake dating thing between Yanami and Nukumizu, but then she ends up asking him, hey, is one of your friends available to do this? And he acted a little put out. So there's probably some room for romance in there somewhere. Or he was just pissed that he wasn't her first choice. I don't know.
So, yeah, but I would have to say that one thing that kept on throwing me off was the literature club. I think she was the vice president. She made me think of Mari from Evangelion so much. I don't know why. But other than that, the show was just overall really fun and really highly recommendable. And I had to stay away from Twitter because there were so many clips and so many animation slides that you can find on there of the different moments within that show. And it also, I think, I don't know if it would be surprisingly, but it had quite a bit of fan service as well. So, do be aware of that. If you hate fan service, there is quite a bit. And,
is there? Did I just completely miss it?
Yeah, I guess so, because remember, even Limit is basically
Episode 2.
fully naked.
Oh, right. Okay, I forgot about that. And then there is the senpai that has trouble with the quadruple bows.
Yeah, and even Lemon is also dressed as a mummy without any undergarments.
True.
So, I mean, they're...
I just must be so used to it by now that it didn't really even register. Because if you were to say that this is a fan service show, I don't know that I would agree. Because the emphasis really isn't on it. It's more like a gag than anything else. Yeah. Right?
I would say so. Like, they hide it really well with the story and everything else that's going on. But if you look, there is a lot of fan service and even a lot of innuendos with that, the nurse?
That nurse. She's going to be on the wrong end of a PTA conference one day, man. She is... definitely a naughty nurse.
Love her. She's great.
Yeah. Oh my god, just this show is also, like you mentioned, I loved how they even I guess attack themselves in this show by making a joke about their own uniform within the episode.
Yeah, I think Vinny posted a little slide of that earlier today.
But
because that was mainly our only critique last hangout, was the uniform. Is the girls' uniform's just awful.
But if you can get past that, overall an enjoyable experience. Now, do you think this has a high chance for another season? Because I don't know. It seems like it is done, but it definitely could keep on going.
I think that there is potential, and depending on how well it does DVD sales wise, we could see a second season.
Hmm.
I think we would get a second season of this before we get a second season of the evil lieutenant and the magical girl who used to be arch enemies.
True.
Because this seems to have much broader appeal.
Yeah, it blew up on Japanese sites as one of the most viewed, and for good reason. A1 Pictures, despite doing many other projects, they really did put their A team on this. So it's been animation-wise fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Very good voice acting too, and the characters are not your typical, like you said. You're expecting some kind of trope, and it turns out no, not quite. And Nukumizu himself acknowledges that he's not the main character of any story.
Mm-hmm.
In the first episode, he's like, 80% of couples that form in high school never make it. So that's the attitude, and I can understand why it was picked up to become an anime even before like the first volume published. They had some sort of inside scoop that this is the product we want to turn into an anime. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, so I don't think the source material was finished or anywhere near that. I forget how many volumes there were out, but definitely, just judging by how popular it was, once there's enough, there probably will be a second season. I don't know. Hopefully, it's by the same team. I should also mention that on the website for the anime, right? The anime website. It's in Japanese, but you go digging around. There's a hilarious counter that counts up all the calories that Yanami has eaten in all the episodes. So, she's constantly eating things in the show, and they just added it all up into a calorie counter for Yanami, which I think is pretty funny.
Hilarious.
So, yeah. I do. I've already shared this with the group, but I do have one criticism, which is that in the beach episode, of course, there's the beach episode, right? We see that Lemon is extremely tan, so she has all her track uniform outline, and then you pan down, and her feet are completely tan, which is not possible because you know what track athletes wear? Shoes. Okay, so I've actually seen this like in Japan, where you pan down at the beach and a tan person just has white, pale feet because you don't get tan because you're not wearing, sandals or going barefoot. You're actually have to wear shoes. So that was a little bit of it jarred me right out of the episode, unfortunately. But that's a small thing.
Well,
I really think
we have to forgive the animators because they don't get outside very often, I don't think.
yeah, probably very true. So for like a top level animation and getting all the details and the backgrounds, that scene just took me right out. Like, that's not possible. But anyway, that's just a minor thing. But everything else has been a lot of fun watching the antics and the struggles and the three main girls each having their own story arc. So I need to finish watching this, obviously, but yeah, highly recommend it.
Going along with that calorie count, I think that was another running gag that they had was how much money she owed Nukumizu.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and go on to the next show. So that seems to be our top recommendation for the season, Maken. Next up, is surprisingly, I can't remember now. I don't think it's a isekai. I can't remember now. The strongest magician in the Demon Lord's army was a human. I don't. It has very high isekai feelings to it, but I don't believe they ever mentioned that he was isekai there. As a baby, he was picked up by one of the Demon Lord's leaders and raised this human baby to be his like protege, and taught him everything that he needed to know, and also to keep his identity a secret while serving within the demon army. And Ike slowly rises up within the ranks in the demon army, and it follows the manga fairly closely. I've read the manga, so I was really into this show because of that. And their pacing with each other is fairly close. Other than that, I can't really say there's much else to say about the show. It really didn't have too much going for it as far as anything that stands out. It's your typical shonen type thing, fantasy world, where instead of being on the hero side, you're on the demon side, and the humans tend to be a lot more vicious and brutal than some of the demons. But I guess that's because of who the leaders are right now, because you do have some of the demons out there that want to go wreak havoc and stuff, but because of who's in charge, they tend to kind of pull back and not be as aggressive. And they're slowly adapting to the life that I guess Ike wishes for, and also the Demon Lord, to have a cohabitat where the demons and humans can live with each other. So, but also with the demons, you have, I guess, the half demons, or I can't remember what they're called here in the show, but like even like the dwarves and such, the hybrids and things, are joining the demon army due to the unfair treatment by humans as well. So overall, it's decent for what it is, but like I said, it's nothing really outstanding, and it is I guess it is pretty fun for what it is. I have nothing really else to say about that. I don't know if Dragon wants to add anything, but
I don't really have to add anything. I didn't really finish. I think I was like halfway through, and then it's just one of those where I had to prioritize other anime in watching, and I may or may not try to finish it up just because I'm already halfway through the anime. But it was an alright show. It's nothing really to like really rave about. Also, Saku was saying that it's just a fantasy anime, and they also felt that it was rather mid. It was just alright. But yeah, I think you basically hit all the points, and I mean, like, it's one of those like I don't know. I guess it's more like if you already knew about the series beforehand, you might want to take a look and see how it is animated versus like reading it. But it's not something I would like be like, oh, you definitely need to watch this.
yeah. But
Yeah, so I read the manga, right, like you, and then decided not to even watch this because I dropped the manga after 4 or 5 volumes. I went a fair amount, but despite the title, he's trying, obviously has to hide his identity, but he doesn't do. It just became kind of ridiculous because he's not even actually hiding his identity. Everything he does, what he does would only bring suspicion to him if anyone had half a brain. So it just became a frustrating read after a while when he's doing everything to protect humans, but his allegiance should be to the demon lord because that's who he was brought up. Just because he happens to be human wouldn't cause him to be loyal to the humans or favorable towards the humans because they're also very awful. So it just did not strike me as a behavior of someone who was brought up by on the demon world. So that's kind of why I dropped it eventually in the manga because I just felt his behavior was not consistent with what you would expect of the current worldview. But that was just me. So anyway, that's why I wasn't even interested in watching the anime.
Now that I mentioned that, I think that's why I got isekai vibes, because I think that's the only way in my mind that could justify why he wants to be or help humans or be cohabitate with humans. Because other than that, I kind of guess like what you said, like another show that did this similar thing was the 30-year-old kicked out of the demon army. And even then, he was totally against the humans until the humans helped him, right? So that's when his mindset changed. So it made a little more sense in that way, but I never really thought of that. I guess I kind of always put that to the side. But yeah, let's go to our next show. Almost closed the wrong tab. Now this show, Mayonaka Punch, we'll skip that. That's no need to talk about that. That's just about a VTuber who finds some vampires and decides to make YouTube videos with them.
That sounds fun.
There's a lot of issues within it, but we'll go to the next show, which it's called Nobody's Way Up to an Exploration Hero. And this show is, I guess, it's so bad it's good type of show. Because it's not a great show. Even the animation in it is not great. And a lot of the things that happen are kind of like iffy. But the thing that got me into it, I think, was because I decided to check out the manga. And the manga is so different from what this show is. And it's like two whole different stories. Like the way they meet people, the way they progress through the floors, nothing is the same. So I guess because of that, I started to watch this a little more to see how he progresses and see if certain things will happen. But a lot of it doesn't happen at all the way the manga does. And but I guess in this show we have our protagonist Takagi, who is influenced by the father of his classmates that was a dungeon explorer, and he ends up being lost, but due to his influence he decides to keep on doing dungeon crawling, and he ends up doing it alone for, I believe, I don't know if they mentioned it in the anime, but I think in the manga they mentioned that he was like in there for 2 years. And he's always in the first floor just fighting slimes for the minimal amount of XP and pickups he can get. And the way he does it is not even fighting, because he has no combat experience. He uses like bug spray that he found out somehow kills slimes. And one day he so happens to get a really great random drop from one of the slimes, who happens to be a very powerful summon. And from there his luck turns around. He ends up getting another summon card, and ends up meeting other friends and joining a group of girls to go exploring with. So his group gets larger and larger as he explores down the levels. So nothing, like I said, remarkable about the show, but if you like small characters, I'm not going to say the L word. If you like small characters, this has got a few of them for you.
So you forgot to mention this takes place in essentially modern Japan, but dungeons exist. So it's not a fantasy, but it's also not really isekai, right? So
Yes.
that's a weird twist, I guess. But I I read the manga and it's very completely different. I don't know what about the light novel. Is there a light novel?
I don't
But
know.
anyway, it's completely different, especially like the second summon, completely different. And then on top of which, I was hoping something would change, but it's super generic, and the
Yes.
animation's not that great. And then there's this whole small character things, their chibi forms, and then him constantly feeding them the mana crystals. It just got to the point where I'm like, I shouldn't be watching this. Because they're like, oh, Master, I want the mana crystal. Well, here you go. Stick out your little tongue. I'm like, oh, please stop. So the amount of times they kept showing, their chibi form eating, I'm like, okay, I get it. Please stop. You're making me uncomfortable.
Oh, so that means you
So,
never got.
it is not a good show.
That means you never got to the bath scenes, did you?
Oh God.
Yeah. Okay. So you quit at a good spot.
All right, thanks.
But yeah, they do pull one conflict that does drive them in the last arc of it, which I think they did okay in telling that story, where one of the friends they have is actually dying, and the only way to, I guess, help her is to get an elixir. So that becomes a big driving force for the second half. And Takagi does run into some issues and stuff, which I think they did okay in telling that story. But overall, I don't know. It just felt that the show was thought up and they put it out there, but no one's heart was in it. So, but it has great VAs. I mean, the girl who plays Sylph is very well known. So, what was her name? Kana Hanazawa, right? So, I love her in all the roles she does. So, hopefully she gets something better next. Vinny, did you want to talk about Nier? Because I think that's finally finished, or
Yeah, well, although ending kind of leaves a bit of an interpretation as to whether there will be another season or not, or it'll be something else altogether. I can talk about it a little bit. So the season 1 or first core was plagued by delay after delay. First the COVID, then some other miscellaneous delay. That pretty much wrecked the whole momentum, and I believe a lot of people kind of dropped it after the first core, or even couldn't finish the first core, which is kind of a shame. Since story does really pick up on the second core, and I remember seeing that how first episode CG animation was very clunky. It just does not blend in very well. Looks like they did fix most of the problem on second core because it was blended in much better, but technical aspect aside. Story they projected onto the second core is instead of Nier and the Dragon Guard, or Dragon as they call it in Japan, is famously known for having a nonsensical story and two having a multiple ending. and see that you cannot just take the first ending at its face value. It almost always forces you to revisit and try to get to other endings, which does pick up and provide extra storyline. But since this is anime, you can really go about and tell people, oh yeah, by the way, this is only the ending A. You have to go back and watch one. So what they did was they gave the snippet of ending A, then they continue with the storyline and try to hit most of the other endings, at least the major part that's worthwhile. And what they ended up happening is they blended and ending C, D, and E all together, which sounds crazy as it is, but then again, Yoko Taro's storyline is always crazy in itself. So it kind of works it out in the end. If anime is the first thing that you watched on this franchise, a lot of things probably would not make too much sense, and it kind of forces you to think that, oh, maybe I should play the game, to make a better sense of it, but sometimes it really doesn't. What happened was that at the end of the first season, they discovered that the war, the never-ending war that's going on between the android faction and the robot, was starting to shift in the momentum with the emergence of Adam and Eve, which was a product of the collective effort done by robots that was produced from the factory. Second core goes deeper into it and to find out that the robots has long disposed the alien who created them to take over the Earth, and then it's also come to conclusion that humanity has been long extinct, that it's not there anymore. And all those regular messages that Yohar and the androids were getting was nothing but a farce that was created by some of the android, knowing that once the android learn that humanity has extinct, they will lose the morale and the reason to really keep on living, since their whole purpose was to drive out the robots and the aliens and bring back humanity back to Earth from their moon bunker they've been hiding under for millenniums now. And throughout the whole struggle, Chibi loses her life at the last-ditch effort to win the war, and to find out that whole Yohar project was rigged from the get-go, that it was meant to be that android will lose and they will be wiped out in the end. And Lioness, who is the companion, has a habit of keep learning the parts that's seemingly inconvenient, so he's been killed over and over and over. And last time that he was supposed to be killed by 2B didn't happen because 2B ended up getting infected, and she ended up dying at the hands of A2, which was one of the deserters from the earlier war. And Lioness felt that A2 denied his living, or his whole purpose of living, which was to get killed by 2B, and he pretty much goes into the mental breakdown, full breakdown modes. And meanwhile, robots basically declare the war and start building the giant cannon that's gonna launch the big old missiles to destroy what's left of humanity in the moon bases. And then ending C was supposed to be making a decision as to how to salvage the moment, which is either A, you ended up losing and robots will fire the missile and destroy what's left of humanity, or somehow able to win the battle and convince the robots to, instead of keep on fighting, why don't you just go seek out civilization elsewhere, and which the route they'll choose to. But then it goes into the ending D and E, which was that directive that was given by given to pods that all mentioning of the Yoharp androids was supposed to be wiped out, and they were there to execute that plan. But those two pods who's been following along, 2B and 9S felt that that directive really no longer makes sense to them after spending so much time dealing with them, and they decided that they're not gonna follow the directive in the end, and they're gonna try to save those two androids from purge. And then it goes into whole this battle sequence and what have you. In the end, A2 basically sacrificed herself, tried to save 9S, and those two pods sacrifice themselves to resurrect 2B. And the parts that follows after that is not really shown in the game itself. It was actually shown up in the short story, novella, and the musical. And yes, there was a musical of the series that happens afterwards, which is that after 9S and 2B was brought back, without the pods, they realized that they no longer have a directives to follow, which was to battle the robots. And robots are really no longer in mood to go hunt or go after androids because most of the androids are gone. And they already made a decision to just seek out the civilization elsewhere. So what's left of the robots basically said, you know what, whatever, we just gotta do our thing and be done with it. So ending of the anime ends with 2B and 9S go on a journey to the unknown, with A2 resting on the ground with the Luna Tear, the flower, growing right next to her. And then the mysterious figure called Accord shows up and disappears just as quickly. And she's the figure from the mobile game Near Reincarnation, which takes place afterwards. So that kind of gives a little bit of ideas to if they choose to continue with the animation project, that opens a door to continue to Near Reincarnation. Or they could actually follow the path of the storyline in the future, which is mostly about 2B and 9S go on a journey, and this part is all spoiler, and the robots growing sentience and developing their own personality beyond just a Pascal, who was one of the first ones to develop that trait. And in the near future, they ended up breaking out into faction and starting into this big old robot war. In any case, for those who play the game, a lot of the moments kind of, you can really feel that, and some of them are touching, some of them are really terrifying, and some of them are just tragic through and through. It was done much better than I thought, given that animation based on video game has a just very spotty track record, just like most of the video game turned into movie turns out to be crap. But this was not, thankfully. So yeah, so if anybody who remember watching Core 1, they should definitely keep on trying to watch it, because it does touch up on a lot of characters that was interesting, including the Lily and others, and those poor twins, the red-headed twins, Popola and Debola. Basically, the opinions on those two are that they really did not deserve the fate they were faced in this game and the animation. They're basically suffering from the sins of their predecessors, so to speak. But yeah, definitely worth pursuing, I'll say. Even though story doesn't seem to make a lot of sense at times, or hold together.
All I remember is watching that first episode from the first season, and the CG of her flying was so bad.
Yeah, they fixed that on second core.
Okay. Do I need to watch the first core to watch the second core, or?
It would make more sense to watch the first core. I mean, and I'll say the first core is a slower part of the two. It moves along a lot faster than the second core.
All right. Thank you, Vinny.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Oh, this one. Everyone's favorite. Well, almost everyone's favorite. The Elusive Samurai. You don't want to talk about Jessica?
I guess so. Let's see. So, this is a historical anime that takes place in Kamakura at the time of the Kamakura shogunate. It is not a period of history that I am very familiar with. It does not get animated really much at all. So that's kind of cool. And I know in the first hangout, I was struggling because I thought it was a serious show with comedic elements, but I kind of reversed my opinion and tried to watch it as a comedy with serious elements. And I ended up liking it and jiving with it much more after that. Because there's some very dark stuff that happens in this one, and it is really violent, which is great. But also, the main character is 8 years old, and so he sort of sees the world in a different way than we do, and he achieves victory by running away. The animation is some of the prettiest that you will see this season. The CGI horses are pretty okay, if you ask me. The archery practice on the dogs, I had to look that up, and it was a real thing that was pretty popular at the time. And there's a shogun in history named the Dog Shogun, which I've heard referenced in other anime and books and stuff. And he was called that because he actually outlawed the practice of dog archery. And everybody thought he was ridiculous for doing that, when by modern standards, that was pretty cool of him to do. So I have fun. I recommend this, but you really gotta make some allowances for the drastic shifts in tone that happen. Is that we'll be having fun, and then all of a sudden there will be a cut to a battlefield, and spears are sticking out of guys everywhere, and there's blood all over the ground. But yeah, I really hope it gets a second season. What did everybody else think?
I'm hoping for a second season as well.
Yeah. They do a really good job of making the enemy seem really creepy and demonic.
Yeah.
They have a lot of moments where they overemphasize, I guess, particular quirks in a lot of the enemies, and they do it in such a creepy way. Like I can't remember. I think there's this one scene where there's like, I can't remember what was happening, but there's like this little, like his eye was literally bulging out right next to the guy's ear. Almost looks like he was whispering into his ear, telling him something weird. They have a lot of these moments that are just kind of like, man, that's just, that's so freaky. But they also do have a lot of moments where they do make it really fun and make it really shine. And this was one of those shows that I was mentioning where they do a decent job. I'm not going to say they do a flawless job, but they do a decent job of blending CG with its 2D.
Yes.
And although you could tell it's CG with how the movements are, because they're kind of stiff, it doesn't look like as if it's doesn't match the rest of the background. So
Yeah, the compositing is really well done. And if you are, if the person watching this is not really knowledgeable about animation in general, they could probably be forgiven for thinking that those CGI scenes were really 2D, because they're pretty good. Especially when the movement is limited and you can't see that it's a 3D object in a 2D plane.
yeah. But it does make me wonder. I can't remember. I think when they were doing that dog thing, didn't they have like didn't they cloth the end of the arrow, or?
Yes. So I think in my minimal amount of Googling on this, that in real life they did not, in fact, use dummy arrows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to see that the main guy, the priest, he kind of sat in the back during the second half, and it followed more of everyone else, and I guess I was kind of okay with it because honestly I found that priest to be one of the funniest things, but I could see why he wasn't really necessary for the rest of everything that happened. But the moments that he was in it, I thought were just golden opportunities for jokes, especially when he sends what's his face on a errand to get his powers back.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So, this is another show that I think on Twitter you can find a lot of animation through just posting and the Sakuga and the frames and everything for this on there, as people are just putting everything out there. Anyone else want to add anything, or we good to move on?
I think we're good to move on.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of don't want to talk about Spice and Wolf right now. I will mention the second opening is great. I love it. It was a nice change, but overall, I don't think it was. I haven't finished it, so that's why I kind of don't want to say. I think I'm one episode behind. So let's move on to the next show, which is
They parry everything.
Orewa something, right? Orewa.
俺はすべてをパリする。
Yeah, I parry everything. Now this show, I love it. I think it's one of the top fantasy shows of the season for me, and it is one of those shows that's on High Dive. But Vinny, you want to say anything about it?
It's one of those. It's so dumb. It kind of works, and the main protagonist is a little too good for his own good. But then, hey, he's got the mighty, the beat up sword that parries everything. So what does it matter?
Or give me a second. Sorry, my dog walked into my room. He freaked me out because he touched my foot, and I didn't know. So we got Nor, and at first I was kind of upset with how ignorant Nor was, and how he couldn't get a clue of certain things and why certain things were happening. But then I kind of came to the slow realization that he's been alone since he was a child. I think around 7 or 8, right? And he's had to live on his own for most of that time, except for the times where he went to train with all the teachers to try to join the Adventurers Guild. So I guess his ignorance is justifiable in a little way, but
No, it's not. Come on.
that's what I'm telling myself, okay? But a lot of the things that happens, and like Vinny said, it's just so outrageous that it becomes funny. And Nor is seen as this great entity by Lin and everyone else around him because of the miscommunication and his, I guess, ignorance, and to the point where I think even he's basically commanding a dragon, but because of his thought process and how things are, he thinks someone else is really the one in charge, and he's like, wow, this guy's amazing, but it's really kind of all to him. But I really did love the last episode because it went back and showed how all the others thought of him when he was training at the school, and how they saw him as something very low and a pitiful child. But as he went and kept on staying with them and pushing through, that everyone wished with all their heart that he would get something and be able to become something. But with every failure, it just drove them more into wishing more for this boy. With the exception, I think, of that Archer, because I thought that Archer just thought of him as a nuisance throughout the whole thing. But I really loved that moment where they showed that part in the show. But when it came to everything else, just outrageous parrying all over. It is a show, like I said, I absolutely loved, and it is one I probably would recommend to my friends because it's just a dumb fun show. And I know my friends love that stuff. Anyone else have anything to add?
I don't know if I really have anything to like add other than like, I don't know. At some point, I think it was mostly because a lot of the episodes were already like out, and so I was, just playing catch up on the anime. I don't know at what point where it started, but like they will like after certain moments from the previous episode, it'll show those moments again, but then it'll come in with Nora's like thoughts, like kind of commentating that scene again. And I kind of was like, at some point I was kind of like, I don't really want to like listen to any of this. I just want to get to new stuff already, because like I kind of already like, you already kind of like figure out like his mentality watching the anime throughout. And so for me to like hear him commentating over the scene that just happened in the previous episode, I was kind of like, I don't really need to listen to this. I already know what he's gonna be thinking about this throughout the whole time. And so I kind of was kind of like, this, I feel like I don't really need this portion, but like, but I think it was definitely quite a funny anime to watch.
I think I talk about. I think you're talking about that part with the king at the when they went to attack the kingdom.
It was because I think it happened in multiple episodes around that like whole battle or like that like kind of like final battle arc portion, but like yeah, it's like it was in like I think it was in multiple episodes where like they would just go back to like what fighting just happened in the previous episode, like the last portion of it, and then that would be used in the beginning of the next episode. But then now it's like, oh, like it's through Nora's mind, and like he's like commenting like his thoughts throughout the whole situation. I was kind of like,
I think I know what you're talking
really,
about now.
yeah.
Because I think now that you mention it, it did happen quite often. I think they even did it with the dragon, right? The dragon's thoughts, stuff like that.
Wait, with the because not really with because I think the dragon thoughts were kind of like, oh yeah, I guess technically yeah, basically a little bit like that. But like with Nora, it's like you already seen the way that he acts throughout the series. I feel like you just kind of like already instinctively know like what he's kind of like thinking, and it's just like it was very, I think for me it was a little bit unnecessary to have that, because I was just like, this is just like basically a recap, but Nora commentation recap. It was like,
I see. Do you have anything to add, Vinny? Or
Nope, I'm good.
all right, let's go to the next episode, and I'm going to be away from my desk for a second while you guys talk about it.
oh, because you haven't finished it yet, or like caught up.
Well, I haven't finished, but I also want to put my dog away because, like I said, he snuck into my room.
Okay.
Which I don't have the card for it because of reasons. But Oshinoko, right?
Yeah, it's Oshinoko season 2.
All right. So who wants to take the lead while I be right back?
I don't really want to take the lead on this. This one,
Right.
I just want to give the support because I'll give like my like take about like things that happen, but I don't really know the best way to explain it.
No, this season was so packed with emotion.
Mm,
Even for a couple of the side characters, they get their time to shine, and it's great.
yeah. Um, I will say that I felt, well, personally for me, I felt a little more engaged with this season rather than like everything after the first season, like first episode, was kind of like it's just like idol anime and like understanding like the darkness of like the entertainment industry of Japan and its idol industry specifically. And like for me it was kind of like it's okay, I don't really know too much exactly about idol culture, so it was kind of like hard for me to get into. But like for second season, because of like it was now more around um Aqua's entertainment side of being like, a stage play actor and stuff like that. What really got me was how the stage play was being adapted from like a novel or like a manga from a mangaka. And I think that portion got to me because I also like doing writing a little bit on the side. And so like having like seeing her emotion about having an adaptation or like finding like people like liking her stories that she's been writing, like that really got to me and I felt more connected to that. And that's why I felt more engaged with this season rather than the first season. But um regardless of that, just there was so much happening, especially just the most recent episode, which was freaking insane
Oh,
because
that ended
oh my god,
in a spot.
I I was just like this episode was oh my god it I just you I was just saying you just need like you just should watch the first episode of the first season if you haven't watched Oshinoko before, and then like try to get through the first season, and then like because it all will lead up into this moment of the episode 12 for season 2, and you'll understand like my like holy moly like why I'm saying like oh my goodness, it's just a crazy moment in this uh most recent episode for Shinoko. And I don't want to really like specify exactly why because I just like it's just something that you need to like really like see. But yeah, I mean, this season was definitely a lot more interesting to me than the first season.
I would have to agree because with the first season, I kind of fell behind a little bit when they were on the Love Now show. And
Hmm.
even though I thought it was still good and I was enjoying it, I didn't have this insatiable need to watch an episode every time it came out. But with this season, the minute Thursday morning rolls around, boom, I am on it. I am watching it. We're discussing it
Yeah.
on Discord. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. I definitely feel more compelled to watch this current story arc unfold. And I do like the more cynical take on the entertainment industry as a whole because it doesn't get talked a lot about, and seeing the mangaka get really upset with the way her adaptation is was interesting because oftentimes we'll hear it's really rare for a mangaka to come out and say that they did or didn't like the adaptation. They tend to play nice and just sign off on whatever the studio wants to do. And
Hmm.
every once in a while, you'll hear about a mangaka or a light novel author that is absolutely incensed about the adaptation and will kind of put their foot down, and sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. So I
Yeah.
really liked that they showed a character like her, because she
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be ordinary in terms of the
Adding
movie.
to what you just said now, like if you take what was happening in Love Now from like the first season, that's basically that comparison of like, you know, like just signing off, just like being happy, like, oh my goodness, like my work is getting an adaptation.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, it's, you know, a drama series, a live action drama series, and it might not be like exactly how I planned, but it's getting some form of a new adaptation. And it's like, you know, getting a little more word out there to another audience. And then now
Right.
you're seeing the other side of like a mangaka that, or like an author that wants to be more ingrained into like how it's being adapted. It's like two like different sides of like getting the adaptation. How you were saying, like some
Precisely.
mangakas just like will be like, yep, let's go for it. Just, you know, I'll let you take care of like how you want to do the production. I'm just happy that it's getting a production versus I see that I am getting a production, but I want things to be done in a certain way.
Mhm. And I also think that it's probably harder for someone that grew up in a culture like Japan, where you're encouraged to conform and to
Mm,
meiwaku, don't make trouble for anybody else. Just go along with it, keep your head down kind of a thing. And I can see where that would be really, really hard as a creator that loves your work, and it's kind of like a child in a way. And then to see someone completely miss the mark and not quote unquote get it,
yeah,
but then feeling like I can't do anything about it because that would cause chaos and trouble for everybody else.
right.
And I like the older mangaka who kind of realized what balancing act she had to do and went along with it, but still felt a little bit of regret for having
Yeah.
done that. That was a really well managed story arc. And that's what I mean when I say that a lot of the secondary characters really shine in this
Mm,
anime.
yeah, I just feel like this season, like we know, like obviously, like we're still engaged with the main characters, but like there were so many things happening with the side characters that were so engaging as well. Like there's so much
Mm-hmm.
like things that you can like remember about the side characters, especially like the dynamic between the two mangakas, and then like the one actor that was like supposed to be the model and he was in Love Now, and then he was feeling like the regret and feeling the shame of his acting ability, and then trying to be like encouraged, like you know, you just gotta put your all into it, like you gotta just like drive their expectations low right now, but prove it when the moment comes too. And then that all just culminate into like that great performance in the play that we got to see.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like
That episode made me cry. I I I never thought that I would be so attached to the career path of this former model turned very bad actor, but dang it, I really was invested. And his whole struggle and everything brought me to tears because of all the hard work that he was putting in. And yeah, he still wasn't going to be a top tier actor or anything, but the fact that he respects the craft and respects the play and wants to do his best, even if it's not that great, really spoke to me.
hmm.
Melt, yes, thank you, Vinny. That's his name, Melt.
My only
Oh,
thing was that threw me off and all of that. I'm like, that was a great performance. But how are they going to keep that up for however many weeks they're going to be running that play?
Question I had too is that especially these actors that are using their own emotions, that has got to be very draining to have to do over and over and over again. And I know Tank, you've worked on stage plays and stuff in the background, but do you have um, any wisdom in that regard for how the actors manage to pull that off over and over again?
I can't say that I would know any of that. I was
Okay.
mainly sets and lights and stuff, so I really didn't interact with the actors or anything. So,
Okay.
but the other thing was that I don't know how those. I guess what did they call it? The round theater or moving theater? I can't remember what they
The
were called.
360,
360
revolving
theater.
theater.
Yeah, my only question about that whole thing was like, because I know in a lot of theatrical plays they do 2 runs a day. Now I was wondering if that's a same thing with this, or is it only once a day because of how big it is and how technical it could be.
Oh,
I feel
if
like
I
it would be
rewatch it,
one.
they might have a playbill somewhere in the episode with the times on it. We could get an idea from that maybe.
Yeah, but I'll eventually catch up. I'm probably going to do what I did last time, which is I didn't watch the last episode of the first season until the second season came out.
Tank, you really need to watch this one. Like, you shouldn't wait. You definitely should watch it, like, when you can.
Okay, we'll see. But let's go ahead and move on to
Yeah,
the
otherwise
next.
you'll be spoiled.
Yeah,
So,
really, you
There's
will.
one more episode still.
Yep. Get that inoculation.
Okay. Well, if you're all saying it, then I'll see what I can do after this hangout then. Next up is the senpai guy.
Senpai wa otoko no ko, or senpai is an otoko no ko.
Yeah. This is him.
Okay, bye, Jessica. Thank you for hanging out.
Jessica's leaving?
Yeah.
Oh, this is her show even. Alright.
Sorry.
It's okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I tried it and I couldn't get into it. That's all I'll have to say. I think I only got 4 episodes into. Maybe actually, how far did I get? No, I got halfway, 6 episodes in, and I kind of couldn't push through it anymore. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think it's Jessica. You're the only ones that finished it. How did
Yes.
How did it go to the end? Like,
It ended off in like a more kind of like in a moment of like just like everything is kind of like writing as in like, you know, it's correcting itself into being a more happy like scenario for each of the main characters, or like a point where like they can all be happy like with each other for their like respective situations. But I truthfully don't think this will get a second season, because I started reading basically I think the second to last episode I began reading the manga to the point where the anime was at, and realized that it's already gone till like I think 65 or 70 chapters at this point. So, and the manga ends at chapter 100. So I truthfully don't think this will get a second season, and I think this is just how the anime is going to be left off, and it's at a good spot where like everything is like, you know, being like, you feel happy for what's happening with the characters being able to have a more like happy happy relationship with themselves and with the people around them.
so when you say that happiness with themselves and it's people around them, like I'm really questioning, like, does that mean he comes to terms with his mother?
I don't think anyone else here is really gonna watch it, so I'll say it. Yes, he does confess to his mother about him still liking cute things, and even going further into being that like of him like, you know, cross-dressing. And he does confront his mother about that, and obviously you can assume her reaction, which is displeased, and she's displeased to the point where she faints because she just cannot she cannot fathom this happening, and so she faints, and then we find out through a flashback that the reason why she doesn't want Makoto to cross-dress and like cute things is because her father actually was a cross-dresser too. And when she was younger, like things that like she was doing, like painting her nails a certain color or tying her hair in a certain way, when her father would say like, "Oh, I have a business trip," when it actually meant that I'm gonna be going on a nightly run with other people and cross-dress. And when he was cross-dressing, he would use the things that she would be doing, like painting her nails that color or tying her hair in that same style. Like her father would do that, and she would find it, strange and gross because she would also hear other people reacting to her father cross-dressing. But and so that's why she has that's where that fear stemmed from. And so we see that, and eventually it kind of like shows how she eventually cut her father off from her life, and she started her new life with her husband, and then Makoto being born, and then going through there. So that's basically how that all happens, and the reason why Makoto's mom has that fear for Makoto. But Makoto does confess, and they actually he actually makes a plan to to take her out with him to go shopping, and he goes out cross-dressing. He wants to show her that the world isn't the same as what it was when you were younger, and how him cross-dressing isn't really frowned upon by anyone else in the world now. It's not something because that's what her fear was, is that she didn't want Makoto to live in a life where he would be shunned and living a miserable life. But he goes out shopping with her, and they have an enjoyable experience. Eventually it comes to the point where she even forgets about him cross-dressing a bit, and is more in her mind is more focused on the actual shopping. And then it kind of clicks in. It's oh my goodness, wait, me and Makoto are having the same interests and stuff like that. And then it kind of she starts kind of slowly having her wall being broken down, finding out that maybe this is okay, he's happy, and nothing is really wrong with him cross-dressing, but she's still a little apprehensive about it.
I see.
But yeah.
You say, is there anything else, or?
I don't think there's much else about it. I mean, I think when watching this, I didn't come in with the expectation of it trying to deal with the issue in a serious manner. I was just thinking that the show was gonna be more about funny shenanigans with a classmate that cross dresses, and then the funny scenarios that could happen from that. But I wasn't expecting all the huge trauma and serious issues that they would be dealing with, that was shown in the anime.
All right. Let's go to a lighter mood now. With Shika Noko 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 Koshtantan. I said that right? I got it right.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
I've been practicing all convention. I kept on singing it at Anime NYC. Shika naka 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 koshitan tan, because there was a lot of people with antlers there.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I dropped it though, because like after watching it in 2 episodes or so, I'm like, okay, it's just gonna be nothing but gags, and I think there's other shows I could watch. So,
I think I stopped around episode 3 or 4, and it's just because like I was more focused on the other anime as well, so I never really like came around to like continue watching Shikanoko no Koshitantan. But I might pick it up just to see what happens. But yeah.
I think Albert finished it.
So I have one more episode to watch, but yeah, I'm pretty close. And pretty much, yeah, it remains a gag anime, and banana, completely crazy things keep happening. But I mean, it is what it is. So I don't think it went above and beyond, like the first couple of episodes. It maintained its pace. So yeah, it was a fun watch. I will be watching the last episode probably tonight, but it became a sensation. Everyone, I think, was surprised at how well the TikTok generation took to it. I don't know what the actual viewership was like through the entire season, but it certainly was brought up as everyone it garnered a lot of attention at the beginning.
yeah, so much
Is it-
dancing on. It was, I think it took place of Mashal Crazy Nuts, right? Where everyone was doing that dance with the music on TikTok, and then it became the Shikanoko song. All over people, and people just doing that
Oh,
little movement.
Don't know, but it was. I mean, the OP is a lot of fun just from all the wacky things that happen, even in the visual. So it was one of the OPs I didn't skip this season. As the Magical Goron Evil Lieutenant, I also watch the OP all the time.
All right. What other shows would you compare it to? Because, like, for me, when I think about it and how it went, the only other show that really stands out would be like Kill Me Baby, where it was just a bunch of small gags within this arc, basically a running gag, which was the girl was an assassin, right? But in this case, the girl's a deer girl, in a sense, right?
Yeah, but I don't know what I would really compare it to. I don't have a good example. And I don't watch Kill Me Baby, so
All right. Next up is... Did you want to talk about this, Vinny? The Osan newbie adventures trained to death by the most powerful adventure party and became invincible.
I'll be brief. It's another very ridiculous story that falls into the genre of all this old man pursuing the dream they long discarded and getting a second shot at it kind of type of series. So the main character, who worked as a receptionist in a guild, adventure guild, decided to pursue the long held dream of becoming an adventurer himself, except that he come to find out much too late that if he doesn't start training at the early age, he never really developed the magical sense which is critical to become a successful adventurer. But then he was brought into the fold by the legendary adventure party, who's basically overpowered in every aspect, and he somehow survives the 2 years of hellish training and becomes super buffed himself. And all those ridiculous hijinks that kind of comes after that.
Hey, Vinny.
Yep.
Wasn't
Yep.
wasn't also another big factor in why he didn't pursue the adventure was that he was also born with supposedly without skills, right?
Right, that's us initially assumed to be so. Then to come to find out much later, he does have inborn skill. Just that it was one of those weird one that's incredibly difficult to execute it. So he was thought that he doesn't have any talents or inborn skill, which does come to play at the very 2 episode, one of the flashback episode as to how he discovered it, and the last episode where he gets to use it with help by his guild party members who helped him train. But yeah, it's not one of those. It's one of those like premise sounds so stupid that it's kind of funny and entertaining in its own right. And I love the super macho type of opening song. It kind of goes dials into 11ness on the macho-ness. I think I talked to Tank about it a while ago. That how this opening song reminds me of the series from about 20 some odd years ago now. It was called Shinkongatai Godanga, which is very macho-esque male character as well. But anyways, it's a pretty decent time filler. So if you don't have anything to watch and just want to just kick back and just watch something ridiculous happening, because everything about him is ridiculous. He's overly powerful, then he's overly cowardly because he doesn't understand whether his newly rebuilt body is something that's really strong or not strong, which he does come to find out, yeah, he's kind of on the strong side of scale. And all those people kind of becomes, how is somebody who shouldn't become anything adventurer at that age. And they like to throw this old man kind of thing a lot, especially when you hit 30. I guess in sort of Japanese stereotype is that once you hit 30, you're an old man, which I take a bit of a slight to that, given that I'm older than that. But yeah, it's one of those that don't think, just watch and just laugh and enjoy kind of series.
So one thing this show does that I did enjoy that I think the EIENArt everything didn't do was that early on, I would think after 4 episodes, he does accept the fact that he is strong, like you mentioned. It wasn't going to be the whole series of him being, I don't know if I'm strong. I don't know if I can do this. So
that would be pretty annoying after a while.
Yeah, so I was kind of expecting that, but when they didn't do it, I was like, okay, now this show's gotten a whole lot better. And also the fact that there's also this slight romantic story also with him and the elf. I kind of also really enjoyed because it wasn't...
Oh, yeah, the dark elf.
Yeah.
The story type.
So it wasn't going to be your typical also harem show because he actually had a particular love interest. So overall, I really enjoyed it. I haven't watched the last episode, so I have to catch up, but it was pretty enjoyable. But like I said, that you said, even that opening song just threw me for a loop because it's like, I agree you're saying it's a strong singing person, but to me it seems like someone singing bad karaoke.
Drunken karaoke by old man.
But let's go ahead and move on to the next show. Now this one's another isekai that I dropped. I think I watched 5 episodes, maybe 6, but then once I got there I was like, yeah, I don't really need to watch anymore. Did we stop too soon, Albert, or for Suicide Isekai?
I mean, it's only 10 episodes. It's not 12, by the way. So you're already halfway there. And it was dumb fun. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the Tape, who's the author, who wrote the series. He's also the author of ReZero. I did enjoy his take on the DC characters. If there's one thing I would say is that the death count of the Suicide Squad did not quite follow what I would have expected. Um, so, and there's that. They had like, plot armor basically. But other than that, yeah, there's a hilarious scene in the very last episode. Um, so I think it's worth finishing. But again, it was dumb fun. But don't. It's not going to bring a new audience into anime, or they don't do anything above and beyond um, extraordinary. So I think it's just interesting take.
All right. Um, we're going to go ahead and skip the third season of Slime because by this point, you're watching the series or you're not, right? So we'll head to this show, which was I believe was our top anime of this season, as our anime watch group, which was give me a second. Let me see if I can try to pronounce this. Tokidoki Bosoto Rashingo de Dereru Tonari no Alia-san. Or Alia sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. And this was a great rom-com. It was awesome, and it had a lot of things for everyone, I think. Especially your crazy otaku-ness with the sister. She made the show so much fun. And by the end of the season, we also got to see more of Kuze and how he really is. But I'm excited to see another season and see how things go, because there's a lot of things you can already connect the dots on. Some things that are working in the background, but they just haven't pushed it through to the forefront. So I can't wait to those get revealed and see how things might change, especially with the feelings. But it's just Alia, who Alisa is her name, is going to this school and wants to become the student president, and through her interactions with Kuze, she develops feelings for him, and as she invites him to be his running mate, she tends to be very flirtatious and says a lot of things under her breath to him in Russian, thinking that since it's Russian, no one will understand it or be able to get it. But of course, Kuze is able to identify what she's doing and also knows what she's even saying, but hides that fact from her, which makes it funny in both ways, just by the fact that she thinks she's getting away with it, and also the fact that he's like, I know what you're really thinking. So the art in it, I think, is beautiful. I mean, it made me think of Shikamori-san with the eyes, and I think even was by the same character developer. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to look at that again, but I know those two shows did have some kind of relation in a bit with each other. But the other fun thing with the show was the ending. The ending had a different song for every single one, all sung by Alia. So yeah, it's some that
it is animated by the same studio.
All right. But a lot of the songs actually matched with Takagi-san, I think it was. The Teasen Takagi, I guess they had a different ending for a lot of their episodes, so, and she would sing it, so a lot of the songs were matching with that show. But it was fun to see those simple endings, because I guess with it being changed every single episode, they can go all out and animate every single one. But it was like a very fun music video for those songs as she sang them. And you could easily identify some songs you'll know in a few of them. So if anything, check out those ending songs. They're pretty fun to check out. and this is one of my top rom-coms this season. Maybe this year. But anyone else have anything to add?
I kind of dropped it after a couple episodes. Just, I don't know, just, it became a little too predictable, and I think it just rubbed me the wrong way.
I see.
I don't really have much, and I think I'm still like a couple episodes behind from finishing it. But it's been enjoyable from all the stuff that I've seen. I don't know. I feel like the sister just really makes the series a lot more funny and engaging.
Yes, Yuki. Oh my god, she's just so much fun. We do learn a little bit of the backstory on the family setup, family dynamic, and why they are the way they are. But other than that, I can't wait for another season. Let's go to the next show. Wistoria. Now this show screams shonen 100% all throughout. How do you say it? The sword and the wand, or the wand and the sword, Wistoria, right?
Wand and sword. Wistoria, the wand and sword, I think.
Yeah. They did have a slight delay when it was coming out, so I think we still have one more episode left, which came out today, which we haven't seen. And it's a sword. It's a fantasy world where those with magic basically rule the top, right? They're the hierarchy, and in this world also, like, it's very strange because, like, even the sky and the light, I believe, is artificial, right? In this world. So in this school, people are hardworking to become the top, to climb this tower, to become the top of it, which grants them special privileges. And I can't remember what they call that person at the very top. There's like, I think 6 of them, right?
Magia Vander.
Yeah. So everyone wishes to get to that point. But Will just so happens to be a student that isn't able to use magic and fights with the sword. So because of this, he's teased, he's bullied, he's looked down upon by everyone else in the school. And I think he's even compared to a dwarf at some points, because I guess the dwarves in this world are just non-magical and just only work with their hands, right? So and the elves with their long lifespan are seen at the top. So it's fun seeing Will live his life, trying to push through, trying to survive in this world with his strength and make the most out of what he has versus what he doesn't have, right? Why focus on what you can't do? Just focus on what you can. It's basically the biggest selling point in this show. And also to have the courage to push through everything to reach your goal, right? And of course, you also have the other students who do look down on him, who feel that they can't be inferior to this person who has no magic at all. So they take a lot of this at heart, and once they kind of realize what he can do, they try to deny it with everything they have. So, but like I said, it's a true blue shonen show with, you know, together we can do everything by the end. So a really easy show to watch, and also looks wonderful. Anyone else have anything to add?
I don't really think so. I mean, I definitely will praise all the animation and the way that the anime was animated. It's really, really pretty to watch, and all the fight scenes as well are just really well done. But I mean, other than that, yeah, it's pretty much your typical shonen of like really working hard to like get to the top, and yeah, that's all about I have to say.
All right. We do have one last title, which I don't have on a list, Albert Pitt on there, which I kind of wanted to talk about it as well. I noticed it one day on
Yeah.
Netflix.
And there's a couple of other shows on Netflix that dropped over the summer, but this is the one that I watched. So I haven't actually finished it. I'm 4 episodes in as I'm watching it with friends, and since I got sick, we have not watched it. But let me say that in the Terminator universe, after watching T2, every other movie that I did watch, which were I think 2 of them, I hated, and I skipped a bunch of the other entries. I did not watch the Terminator TV series, which I think had some interesting bits in it, but I just wasn't watching it at that time. So this entry ended up being a interesting take on the Terminator series. So it still follows some of the Terminator tropes. At the same time, it's pretty refreshing look. Instead of trying to follow the entire Sarah Connor, John Connor timeline, the Terminator is sent back to eliminate maybe, or to do something with a man known as Malcolm Lee. Malcolm Lee is in Tokyo working with an AI institute, and he is apparently developing an AI to counter Skynet. So right there, interesting, different protagonists, the people that are sent back to the resistance gets hold of this and sends back one of their best to try to prevent whatever is going on. It's as of episode 4, it's not really clear if Malcolm's AI will also contribute to the downfall of humanity or if he will succeed. It's not clear, so that's interesting. There's a little bit of tropiness where the protagonist, the fighter that's sent back by the resistance, seems to have some amount of plot armor, while second, I guess, NPC characters, policemen that show up on the scene are just brutally murdered by the Terminator immediately, like just grasping them and breaking their neck, that kind of thing. So, yeah, the animation was good. Voice acting, they got top tier talent. I think the story is a fresh take and interesting. I will mention that Malcolm has kids, and they're I don't know, they're middle and elementary school kids, and so if you don't like some of the tropes that show up when kids get involved in a deadly sci-fi series, then you're not gonna like it. So I wouldn't recommend this to Jessica, because she'll just be annoyed at what the stupid kids do, because they do stupid kid things. But other than that, I would recommend it. I think it's production IG. I'd have to look that up to make sure, but yeah, it's been great so far, and I will continue to watch it. So I highly recommend you at least check it out. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But I think it's a much needed breath of fresh air in the stagnant Terminator franchise. That's it.
So, my only question would be: is it heavily Americanized? Because I know a lot of the Terminators take place in America, or what they would believe is America, right? So,
No,
Uh,
this is set in Tokyo, Japan.
oh, okay.
He just happens to be working in Japan, but I think can't remember. I think his wife is supposed to be Japanese, so the kids are half Japanese, I think. But anyway, yeah, it's in Japan, and it's kind of a semi-futuristic Japan where there are robot workers and such. But you can also see the fear that this brings because Malcolm has knowledge about the future that how he has it is not revealed, but probably similar to like in T2, where Dyson had information. He had that robot arm, right? And it was developing the chip that would eventually power Skynet. So I think there are time travel shenanigans going on, definitely, and I think I know what one of them is, but they've also in story mentioned sending people back into time creates a branching timeline. So they're not uh, they're not restricted by the movie timeline of the John Connor Sarah Connor thing, right? So they've just completely gone off on their own, and I find that really refreshing. So
So now
check it out.
with you saying completely on your own, the only other thing I would ask is, are they still adding the cheesy callbacks to all the other Terminators, like "I'll be back" and stuff like that?
So far, no. As of like, I don't think the Terminator has spoken at all. You do see him through his interface, the red scanning interface and things that show up. Um, I've been watching it both in Japanese and English. I can't remember what happens in the interface. The interface definitely had Japanese in it. I don't remember if I think English shows up too. So, but currently they're not that tropey like the Terminator trophies, right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, thanks for that insight. I was actually very curious about this. So it seems that you're at least halfway through because it seems like it's only 8 episodes long. So I'll definitely have to set some time aside. That's only what, like a 4-hour watch, right? If even. So that'll be it for today. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. Albert, even though you're sick, thanks you for pushing through and coming here with us. I know we missed a lot of you at the opening, so hopefully all of us can be feeling better in 3 weeks, I would say, right, for the next meetup for the beginning of the fall season. If people haven't seen it, Aniplex had an online fest, and I think their VOD is still there for the live that you could have watched, and their new releases for what's coming this new year. And other than that, I'm not too sure if there's any other anime movies coming out this season or if there's any big plans. I can't think of anything at the moment, so if you wish to join us in these anime talks or wish to see what our people have to say, our friends have to say, I should say, in our Discord, just send a message. We can send you a link to join our Discord and to discuss anime. Albert and a few others tend to post quite a bit at the start of the season with their insight for the first episodes, right? And Vinny also shares a lot of really fun figures and other stuff that collectibles out there. So
Yep, collectibles.
yeah. Other than that, thank you once again, everyone, for hanging out with us for this pretty long hangout, and have a wonderful night, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.